I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm done redirecting to YouTube. What is up, people? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I could see myself. Welcome to Cheerful Conversations, episode 17. I cannot believe that I've done this many episodes, and I probably could have done more because this is super fun, but I ain't got time for that all the time. So, what can I talk about? Obviously, you can see in the tiny little window that I'm in that I am dressed up, and it's not quite Halloween. So what the F is up with that? I don't know, because I just want to have fun, and I want to, I have one of my most favorite people on the show with me today. So we're going to just hop to it and celebrate Halloween a little bit early. And I don't necessarily want to sit here and talk too much because I want to get the conversation started. So welcome to Cheerful Conversations.
Hello.
I love that. I feel like I still need to get us in this place where I can just play the video and it doesn't cut. Oh my God, my hair. Welcome to Cheerful Conversations, everyone. I'm April Schluter. I'm here with my fantabulous co-host, Gary Ware. What's up, Gary?
Hey, April. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear, and hopefully everybody online. I'm going to just take a really quick look at the video. It looks like it's going well. So we can just get started. And today's topic is a really a topic that's been such a huge part of my 2018 and now is slowly going to become more and more of Gary's bag over the next coming months and all that stuff. But the topic is accountability. And I didn't really take too much time to prep what types of conversations we were going to have. But I think that the story behind like me and Gary's friendship will kind of tell the tale on its own. So, but I think it's one of the things that I feel that people have always wanted to, I guess, use me for in terms of a strength that I'm good at, because I could remember a couple years ago, I had maybe like 8 or 9 different accountability partners, and everybody loved just my energy, trying to figure out, how to get stuff done. And it got to a point where I like had just too many things, and I just didn't want, I couldn't handle like and navigate like all the different accountability partners, right? So when I see you, you're pointing the other direction. So I don't know if we're backwards or whatever. But anyways, I love Gary's just making faces. So, I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I just need to have like a core group of accountability buddies to help me get done what I need to get done. But, then became the evolution of my accountability success circle, which Gary is now co-running with me as we launch into year 2. So super, super excited. But before we dive into that topic a little bit more, I just want to have my lovely co-host introduce himself. So Gary, you do that.
Hey, April. Thank you so much for having me. If for you watching, if we haven't met either virtually or in person, my name is Gary Ware. I am part of the BFD with April. I run an amazing company called Breakthrough Play, where it's my mission to help over 1 million adults reignite that play inside of themselves and help them use play as a vehicle to help them be more confident, more creative, and more importantly, have more freaking fun.
Yes. So, I think you can tell why he and I are just like 2 peas in a pod. In a BFD pod, we'll talk about what that actually means, unless people can guess, but we'll talk about the story of what that means, because it's a little acronym that's near and dear to our hearts. But yeah, we both care so much about play and so much about fun. I guess we should just talk about how we met, right? Because that's the next thing in this whole thing. This wig is like driving my forehead crazy.
And this is red. Like seriously,
yeah.
This is all I see. It's like
are you warm in that thing?
Not yet, but I am going to turn it this way. Sorry.
We got the gist. What do you guys think of this purple crayon? Like, I feel like I found it at the when my kids went shopping for for their costumes, which they're both really like scary, gross people or characters this year. Like, you know, what's the name of the Friday the 13th guy, or is it the Halloween guy? The guy with the hockey mask. Which one is that?
Jason.
Jason. I'm like, that's not, wait, Friday the 13th is like
Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger. I'm like, I can't even remember. I've like, that's how bad I blocked out like horror in my life. And then my younger son is this like crazy swamp, like, I don't know, but it's really, really scary. It's like swamp skeleton something. And he's got like all these like little green frilly, I don't know, but I'll take photos and I'll share them at some point. But I got this costume because this is like a costume for the ages for me, right? Like I just got the purple hair. This all didn't come together, but it was like the crayon and then like my shirt that says like Crayola. I can't even turn it. It's like Vivid Violet. That's me. And then I had to add the wig and of course the purple lipstick. So now I feel all like colored. But what I'm really, really going to be on Halloween is a large inflatable poop emoji, which is going to be freaking awesome. We'll see if I don't fall over, but I'll be sure to send pictures on that too. Gary, were you going to dress up at all for Halloween?
Yeah. I'm actually going to be a basketball player because my son is going to be a basketball player. So.
Oh, so cute.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm sure we'll be posting those on the socials next week, but we were just figuring that this would be a fun warm up, a prelude to the actual festivities. Okay, let's talk about how we met. So, 2016, right?
Yeah.
You tell it from your perspective, because I feel like
I know, right? I feel like from my perspective is a bit creepy because there was this, so April's coach at the time, Emily, had posted in this Facebook group that I'm a part of, the San Diego conscious community, whatever. Anyways, that one of her clients is doing a workshop on like how to get more done and have more fun in San Diego. And I was like, whoa, that's right up my alley. Like I'm all about, that. And then I looked at the date and it turns out I was going to be at a conference, and it's actually the conference I just got back from. It was it in October? Or was it in
March.
April? Yeah. So
March
this conference,
April.
Yeah, so April, perfect, because this conference that I go to is in April and October. They have it twice a year, but nonetheless, I wasn't going to be able to go because I was going to be at this conference, and so I was like, "Who is this person that's all about that?" So I stalked April on, I think it was LinkedIn. I was trying to be all professional about it, and I sent her a message on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, that's really cool that you're going to be doing this. Like I feel like we have some synergies and stuff like that." And then April immediately like wrote back and was like, yeah, that's cool.
Weren't you in Chicago? Like that was the conference like in Chicago or something? Because I feel like you were going to Chicago and I was in San Diego. We were like totally crossing paths or something. Or
yeah,
maybe...
I think there might have been at one point, I think we crossed paths, but in this time I was going to Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to Phoenix for that conference. But afterwards, we had a Skype conversation, and I think it was like 2 hours, right? Was it?
Yeah, it totally was 2 hours. And I was like, I never use Skype.
Right? Yeah. I don't even know why I Skyped either. I don't use Skype that often, but and then we caught up, and it was like we realized that we had even more in common. And then we met in person at World Domination Summit later that year. And the funny thing is, I wasn't going to go that year because it wasn't anything against WDS. It was just I didn't have a ticket yet, and I was like, well, is there anything calling me to it? And then found out you were going to go, and then all these other things. And so, yep. I went.
And I didn't even think I was going either, which it was one of those things where everybody that I was interviewing for my online summit at the time was like, oh, you should check out WDS. It would totally up your alley. You would totally love it. And I'm like, what is this thing? And even my coach was saying that, and she had been there for how many years. And I was like, well, if, I think at the time, like all the tickets had been sold. And I was like, if I'm going to go, I need to go and do like the full experience and not just what do they call it? Like the connect experience where you don't get to go to the main stage. You go to just, you get to go to all the outskirts and all that stuff. And so lo and behold, I didn't realize that every once in a while, people are always looking to sell their tickets. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And so it was like such a great opportunity for us to connect, and we had so much fun. I totally like burned out in a good way after that trip. And it just kind of started a whole new like era for me. And I think you and I, was it that year that we started it? Yeah, it was that year that we started. Cause I remember I had these two ideas where I was like, I'm going to start like these two websites. One was like coolfrickinpeople.com. And the other one was like 30-day challengeproject.com. And I bought the URLs and they just expired and I just let them die because I never did anything with them. But it was like, I was like, okay, why do I have all these websites? I just should do everything through the Cheerful Mind. So learning experience, but it was just funny because I think at that time too, we discussed this idea of like accountability partnerships and just being in a part of like a self-crafted mastermind, which we then called the BFD. And we had a couple other people, or three other people who were in it throughout the process of it at the beginning. And it just didn't, it kind of petered out with the group because we had people from all over. Gary's in San Diego, I'm in Chicago. We had a couple people who were in Minneapolis and like one who was in Australia. And it just kind of died down to this thing. And you know, people kind of just went in different directions. Life happened, whatever. And it just became a thing where Gary and I were just meeting twice a month, right? Or every other week.
Every week. Yeah.
To just hold each other accountable. And, you know, it's really, really funny because I feel like, when was it? It must have been sometime in early summer of 2015 before we actually met. And I remember you saying like, I feel like I have all these ideas. And I was at the ice skating rink when we were having this conversation. This is like how much we talked. And maybe we were just texting. We weren't on the phone or anything, but you were like, I feel like I've got so many things that I want to accomplish and I just don't have the right focus to get things done. I don't know if you remember that conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what I said that I needed, but I was like, I just feel like I need to like be in, like, I want to be masterminding with people that like are super fun and, you know, can help me tap into my creativity and all this stuff. And it, like, we were totally there to support each other in those things. So yeah, we had a structure that we would go through this process of, you know, talking about what we were going to do between meetings and, you know, then it started to get a little like chit chattery, I think maybe in the last like 6 months. And then we kind of realized like, hey, you know, there's an opportunity to join forces, because I know, Gary, a lot of the stuff that you had been doing thus far was, you know, mostly presentations and talks and workshops. And I was working a lot with people one-on-one in a sense. And so we were kind of like, how can we kind of help each other with that crossover? So it's kind of evolved into this whole, you know, let's run this like accountability success circle together. And both of us have different styles, but we both know how to hold each other accountable. And we communicate really, really well. And so there's nobody that I could ever, you know, think could be a better match to kind of grow this program with. And we just have fun with it. And we have so many ideas of what we can do, but also because of the fact that we both dabble into improv, there's a flexibility to the program. And I think even though I'm a planner, there's so much leverage to kind of wing it and see what shows up in the group and how we accommodate that. And both of us are in a place where we can just kind of chill out and do it, but do it in a fun way as well, you know, have just the right amount of focus. So it's been like a fun ride and a fun journey. But yeah, any other thoughts?
No, like, yeah, you hit it. Like, it's such a blur, like from the very first WDS to now, like, it's like, oh my gosh, that was, because the very first one, we went and we met each other. And then the second one, that's when I brought my son, Garrett.
Yes. Yeah, we stayed across the hall from each other, and I was like, let me just be on call in case you need like some baby help or whatever, something like, or reinforcements, because
we were right across the hall.
Yeah, super, super fun. So
such a blur.
such a blur, but super fun. And then I haven't been able to go. I wasn't able to go this year. I won't be able to go next year, but we will reunite in 2020. And I need to come out to San Diego at some point. And I was actually just talking about you, Gary, yesterday at the workshop I was doing. I was like, oh, we could do something fun for like the college kids. And I should like try to talk my friend into coming, and we could just do this really fun workshop that talks about stress management, but doesn't like stress people out thinking about the fact that they need to go to a workshop about stress management. And they're like, ooh, that what might be fun. And so we'll discuss that later. But anyways, moving on. One of the things that I ask everybody as part of this show is something that you geek out on. And it can't be something that is, you know, tied to your work or whatnot, but it has to be something unique that maybe people don't know about you. So is there anything in particular that you geek out on, Gary, that people don't know? Maybe that I don't know yet?
Oh my gosh. You know, the challenging thing is because the thing that I geeked out on became my work, and then I had to find something new to geek out on.
Yeah.
So the thing that I geek out on that I cannot talk, so I can't talk about work related stuff. All right. Oh yeah. All right. So this is not necessarily work related stuff yet. So So I am really falling in love with turn-based games, like sort of board game type stuff, but not just like normal like Monopoly and stuff like that, which is a lot of fun. I've been geeking out on more cooperative type games. What are some of those games? So there was while I'm talking, I'm going to find you would be surprised at some of these games that are cooperative games. There is one called Pandemic.
Okay.
And so basically that one is there's like a zombie outbreak and everyone has different objectives. But what you will quickly realize is that you have to you sort of have to work together because it's like everyone dies or no one dies. Settlers of Catan is another one of those. I haven't got too much into that one.
We have a lot of that game, and I know a lot of people.
Yeah. And they're a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where, like I said, it's not incorporated into my work yet, but it's definitely on the way. Just because you can learn so much about yourself and others in playing these games.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's fun. It's like because I've been geeking out on it, someone told me about a new game that I just bought, but I haven't played it yet. And I was trying to find the name. I'll eventually think of the name. But the concept is this: it's based off of this famous trail in Japan between these two cities.
Okay.
And it takes place across 5 days, not 5 real days, but the game is day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And your goal is to you're on this journey from city 1 to city 2, but it's all about the experiences that you collect along the way. So
interesting.
You win the game per se, not by getting there the fastest, by experiencing more things. So you have to decide at the end of so each day you have an opportunity to use the things that you collected to go on more experiences, and then you collect those experiences, and then you have to have dinner, and then then you have to go to bed. It's really, really interesting.
It almost sounds like a different take on Oregon Trail.
Right? Yeah.
You gotta
sort
go. Oh, so and so has died.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just maybe in a different context. I love
that. Yeah. And so it's a really fun game. That I haven't played it yet, but I have it, and it's so beautiful. Like the design of this game, it's so beautifully designed. It's a board game, and all the pieces are well designed. It's amazing. So I can't wait to dive into it.
Yeah, send that over to me too, because we're going to be spending the holidays with my family in Texas, and they're all board game geeks.
Yeah, and it's called Tocadito. Yeah. But yeah, and so if you're watching and you're into something different, I highly recommend checking out that board game. It's well designed. It's not too expensive either. I believe you can get it on Amazon under $40.
Awesome.
And so I'll send it to you, April, so you can look at it. But it's a fun game. So yeah, I've been into into board games, and I've just been geeking out on all of that stuff. Another board game, if you're a Disney fan, which something I am, if you know anything about me, you know that I love Disney. There is a Disney board game called Villainous. And so that one is not necessarily a cooperative game, but it is a game where each person has their own objective. So you can pick a different Disney villain. So they have Captain Hook, they have Ursula, they have the Queen of Hearts, they have Prince John from Robin Hood, they have whatchamacallit from Aladdin, I think Jafar and stuff from Aladdin. But and so you have your own objective.
Mufasa. Wait, is that the good?
No, that's the Mufasa is the good lion, and Scar is his brother.
Scar. Okay. Yeah. Mufasa just sounds bad.
Right. So nonetheless, so that is a really fun game that me and my wife and my sisters, we play that game a lot. And it's you have your own objective, and based on that type of character, you have different things that you have to do. So like it's and you can put a damper in other people's games by playing heroes from that game to try to stop them. Nice. But the goal is if you win, then the villain wins the game. So yeah.
I love it. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So
that's me. That's what I'm geeking out on.
Yay, geek out. And then just because it was in my mind, have you heard of the company? I think the company's called like Peaceable Kingdom or something like that. They have like kids cooperative games. Because I have one of my sons hates to lose. So we've been trying to buy some of these games that are, cooperative. So it's, we're all like playing together and nobody's winning so that we don't have to deal with a sore loser, I wanted to win situation. But we have this one game, I have to go look at it, but I can't remember what it's called, but you basically have to like pick up a certain number of like tokens or something like that before the ogres come and get all the gold or something like that. But it's like my kids are like scared of it, but it's like a kids cooperative game for like ages like 5 and up or whatever. I'll have to take a look at that. But
like, I heard about them, like they have Count Your Chickens, which is a really good one.
Yes, yeah, so they have a whole bunch of cooperative games, and I was like, ooh, that's got to be something that we should try to implement somehow in the work that we do. So we might need to talk about that more.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then I have to ask a random icebreaker question.
Cool.
Because it's always just fun. We'll both answer it. It's going to be from my little stack of cards. I just need to make sure that.
Random question.
Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Pull. This is the question. What is your guilty pleasure? Which is almost kind of like, what do you geek out on? What is your guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. I have to say one of my guilty pleasures, I love eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Did you like that when you were younger?
Yeah, I always love peanut butter and jelly.
Okay.
Like I love peanut butter too. Like peanut butter is like my favorite. So anything with peanut butter, like I'm all about that. So like it's been a rough day. Oh, I'll make a PB&J.
Oh, that's good.
So delicious.
Yeah,
so
that's all
that's
that
mine.
Justin eats all the time, and I'm like, is this ever gonna go away? Because it's like he wants to eat it every day. If he can't have like chicken nuggets or a quesadilla or pizza, then it's PB&J. And then there's all the, peanut allergies and all that stuff. So it's like when he's at home, he eats a lot of PB&J to counterbalance all the pizza.
When you can't.
Yeah. So my guilty pleasure, I went straight to thinking about like games, and I play a number of games on my phone, and it's probably gotten worse because my kids will, they'll get caught up with those like ads that you see on all the free games. And then they're like, I want to try this. One of my guilty pleasures, and I've definitely paid money, but I'm trying not to anymore because it's just too much, is this game that I don't know if people know, but they should know because I think Ryan Reynolds is doing commercials apparently for this game. It's called Toon Blast. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
So it's like a version of Candy Crush, but it's just different. And
is that the Disney one?
I don't think it looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like there's like a bear, and it looks like Disney-esque in terms of like the photo. I don't know if you can see it. Here, just take a look at at the photo of the people, or it's like, it looks like a cat and mouse, like whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
But look at the level that I'm on. Can you see?
No, it's blurry. Is that 1,000 something or another? 3,000? What?
Let me see if I can turn off the light really quick. Oh, that doesn't help.
No.
I'm level 1,943. So, I mean, it has the same type of structure as Candy Crush, you know, just different stuff. I mean, you line certain things up and they will do like the cross lines, or, so I think it was one of those things that I think I joined the Candy Crush bandwagon so late that there were like thousands and thousands of levels. And I was like, I'm never going to get caught up. But here they release 50 levels every 2 weeks. And the highest level right now is 2001. So that's my guilty pleasure. And I try not to play. I just try to get myself to at least the 50 levels so that I can stay on par. But I'm on a team. Oh my gosh, I should tell them all to watch this. I'm on a team that's called Midwest Nice. Of course, I would pick one that has like a really, really nice name. I actually was jumping from team to team to try to get into the top 100 in the world. And
and I wonder where Ryan gets the competitiveness from.
Yeah. So then I was jumping around, but then I got to a point where I was trying to get to the top and I would get kicked out because it was like, your level's not high enough. And I was like, that's rude. But I also knew that at some point, like, I couldn't sit here and be like a junkie and be on it all the time. And I'm not that competitive. So I came upon this team and like, they're actually really social. Like, I actually am friends with some of the people in my group on Facebook. And a lot of us mostly stay together. There's like 50 of us and not everybody talks, but there's a good solid, like 8 to 10 people who talk. And we there are some people I'm like, yeah, let's get connected on Snapchat. It's just funny because it's like, wow, these are real people that are all across the world. And most of them are not even in the Midwest, which is great. But it was just like, everybody's nice. And there was somebody who was like complaining about like us not, they have these like weekly team chests. So if you get a certain number of stars, because each level you get 1, 2, or 3 stars. So I think that's similar to Candy Crush or whatever. Yeah. But like, if you collectively as a group can get a certain number of stars, then you get like a bunch of coins that you can use for extra moves and stuff like that. And there was somebody who came in and was like, why are people not participating? And then somebody else was like, people have lives in this group. Like, we like this and we want to have fun, but this is not going to take over our lives. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in the right group. So I've been in this group since like last November, and I try to, some weeks I give more than the other, but it's like something that I always come to. And so that was a long-winded story about like guilty pleasure.
Can I ask you a question about that? Or
yeah.
2 questions?
Yeah.
So, one thing I'd geek out about, as everyone knows, and I couldn't talk about this one because it said not about our work, is games and how games make us more resilient.
Yeah.
And a really great book that I read is called Super Better, and it's by a gal by the name of Jane McGonigal, and she talks about the flip side of games. Most people talk about like digital games and how it makes you obsessed and takes over your life and stuff like that. And so she talks about how you can have a different perspective and how you can use games like Toon Blast and Candy Crush to actually get closer and improve your resiliency and all this other stuff. And one of the questions that she asked people, and I want to ask you, April, if you don't mind, is, what skills do you think you're cultivating by playing this game, Toon Blast?
I love that. Yeah. And I mean, I have other games that I'm playing too, and they all tap into different skills. But I think in terms of this one, there's a lot of just strategy, right? Because there is the piece of, trying to figure out how do you, at the very top, there's like a goal, like you need to clear this number of something, or, this number color of blocks, or you have these like crazy, like coconuts that you have to like break, or like these like, whatchamacallit, like these diamonds that are in a box that like every other move, they like turn on and turn off, and piñatas that you have to like smash, but you have to smash them like 3 times before they bust open. Like, it's just super fun stuff. So it's kind of the strategy of thinking about when there's a specific layout, like how can you accomplish the goal and how can you do it in the least number of moves possible to get your maximum amount of stars. But I think the team aspect of it what's really fun about it, because there's an interactive piece, you are talking about teamwork, and you are cultivating like collaboration, even if like these are people you don't even know. It was funny because my son was playing it and he created a team, and like he's like, "Mommy, join my team," and I was like, "Nope." I'm staying on my like team that has like everybody has at minimum like 1600 level, and he was like on level. Yeah. And so Tim was like, "I'll join your team," and he got to 1,000, and then he was like, "Okay, I have to stop because I'm getting addicted." So there's that. But then I think also what I was talking about, they have these like team challenges. They started this new challenge where you have to they put all the teams up against each other, and how many stars can you get and who gets the most. And so, you know, it fosters that like that competitive spirit, and just saying like, "Hey, we can do this." And you kind of see everybody in the chat like, "We can do this. We just have we're almost at first place," or, you know, whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of, and I think it's just a creativity and just allowing yourself. I mean, one of the things that I think I got this from just talking with you, and when we did when I interviewed you for my summit a couple of years ago, there was that piece of like, yeah, you know, some people can use games as a, you know, and can get lost in it and can totally kill your productivity, but like we use this as a power up or an escape from the busy. Because if I wasn't playing those games, I would just be like drilling myself like into a hole in the ground, working nonstop. And so like I don't have any guilt anymore about some of the games that I play. Sometimes when I know I have deadlines, I do, but at the same time I'm like, okay, well, if my brain is drawing me to play, it's probably because it's tired. And so I cut myself slack in that respect. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
Yay. Did you have a second question?
Nah, it's cool.
Okay. You're like, I'm
That's
done.
good. It's all good.
Okay. All right. So one of the things that we do on this show is to share positive news, because there's not enough of that getting enough publicity in the world, especially around this time of year where we've got like elections coming up, midterm elections, and all of that craziness. That I don't know if you're getting this at your end, Gary, but I get all of these like flyers in my mail, and I don't even look at them. I just like, oh, there's a cardboard paper, toss. I probably have some in my garbage right now. So trying to bring out some really fun, positive news that's happening out in the world and giving it a little extra bump, because this is the type of news that should be seen more often than some of the negativity that we tend to see. So Gary, I'm going to have you start and share, as you were scrounging the internet for positive news, what did you find?
Yes. So I found two.
Okay.
But one that I it's close to home and it's close to my heart, is first I'm going to ask a question, and it has to do with my story. Do you know which mammal has the longest gestation period?
No, but I feel like this question, somebody had asked me this question before.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is the elephant, and the elephant carries a baby for 22 months, almost 2 years.
It's crazy.
Right? Imagine, like you're a mom, like imagine being pregnant for like almost 2 years. So I know, right? And so on September 27th of this year, the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, they had their elephant who was 28 years old. Her name is Ugani. Gave birth to a healthy 281-pound female calf.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the biggest calf ever to be born at the safari park.
I'm just imagining, like, how do you even like get that thing out of you? I mean, obviously elephants are a lot bigger than humans, but I'm just like 281 pounds. Holy cow. But that's awesome.
Yeah. And if you go on the Safari Park's Facebook page, they have a video of it happening. And like she's just walking around all of a sudden. It's not as gross as you think.
Okay.
But still, like she's just walking and then a bloop, an elephant plopped out.
So she was standing up and it was just like boom. Oh my God. I've got to check that out.
Yeah. It's on there. And then the baby just got their name, and forget what name. So we've been following this story like forever, because it's like one of the
22 months. Yeah.
It was 2 years, like, and they haven't had elephant born like in captivity like that in a long time. So, and another fun fact about elephants. See, all right, maybe this is something else that I geek out on. Like when I found something really cool, like I like learn as much as I can. Elephants, they only have about three or four babies in their lifetime. So they're, so to have a baby, like it's it's a big deal. So it's pretty cool. But the baby, just had a baby, and it's so cute. Like seriously, if you want like a really good feel good, watching this little baby elephant like walk around, like it reminds me of Jungle Book. Yeah. You remember that cartoon? Yeah. When they had the little baby elephant. So that's my feel good story.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So I actually heard most of the time when I've been sharing stories, I've been getting them from a specific source, or specific one or two sources that I get an email for positive news, right? Because it's like, great, I'm going to infuse my inbox with positive news and not negative. This one I actually got from the radio and then found it, just kind of Googled it and found it. So it's almost like making me happy to see that other places are, trying to share more feel good news stories. So like, just like my regular radio station that I listen to in the morning, they play that, like, I don't know who sings that song. There's like Tony feels good, or it's not Bell Biv. Yeah, that is Tony. They use that. Yeah. At least I got that right, and not the Mufasa thing. Anyways, so they were talking about this kid who I think lives in Michigan. I found the article in People magazine online. So there's the 6-year-old who is in first grade. He's from Sand Lake, Michigan. He was all excited to like take the school bus with all the other kids, but then he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 4 years old. So they were just kind of concerned putting him on the bus without another adult that wasn't the driver there to help. Like, what if something happened to him? They wouldn't be able to, support him if his blood sugar got too low. So his parents were trying to figure out a solution, and the solution was to get like a support dog or something like that. An alert dog, which basically was trained to notice if his blood sugar was getting low, so that he could, feed himself like a candy or something like that. And so he would be able to go on the bus if he had this dog with him, or the service pet with him. But of course it costs like $25,000, and would, where do you get $25,000? And so his family, I guess he was like, I want to just do whatever I can to raise this money. So he was going to start a lemonade stand, but obviously it's getting cold in the Midwest. So they decided, I don't know where his parents live, but they were like, we have a family pumpkin patch, so we're going to sell pumpkins. And so he was selling pumpkins. And then I guess somebody started a GoFundMe page or something like that, or a fundraiser on Facebook. And they literally, like, I guess in less than a week, the fundraiser got to like $24,000, like just enough to get, this dog. So now the dog needs to be trained. So it might be like another 10 months to a year before he gets the dog. But like, wow, like that's just amazing that people just were like, hey, let's support this. And I just love little kids who like with their like entrepreneurial spirits. And I don't know, it made me think about like, oh, it's, if you're doing things for such a good cause, like, of course, everybody wants to get around that. And so I'm like, we got to do more of that. We need to put our money towards good stuff, good, fun things, instead of some of this stuff that just distracts us and brings us down. So that was my feel good story. So yay.
Oh, yay. And that's that's what I love about this. It's so contagious, right? Emotions are contagious. I just shared her story about a baby elephant, and you shared about, this young child that was able to raise like over $20,000 to get a support dog. And, whether you're watching this, one of the two people that are watching it live or watching the replay, I'm confident that you will feel good by hearing this, and it will inspire you to want to go find more good stories and share them. And like what April says, if we can get more of that in our sort of ecosystem, in our environment, imagine how that's going to affect us on a day-to-day basis. So
yay. Yes, feeling good. All right, shall we talk about accountability a little bit?
Hell yeah.
We could talk about probably all things related to anything, but I think accountability is a good one just because you've been there for me throughout the last couple of years as I've struggled through and experienced tons of wins and all of that stuff. And I kind of wanted to start this discussion, and we don't need to talk about it too long because we only have 20 minutes left, but I wanted to start with just like the concept of accountability. It was interesting, when I was starting the program, the Accountability Success Circle, because there was something about the word accountability that really attracted people to find out more. And maybe it's, not a lot of people like name their programs about that, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious about what accountability means to you. And I'll share what I think too, but, and why do you think it's so catchy?
Yeah. It's one of those things where it goes back to like in our circle, just to give anyone who's watching like a little teaser of what goes on. This week I gave a challenge to the group to look at the people that influence you, the 7 people that you spend the most time with. And it's like that quote, you're the average of the 5 people. I think it was Jim Rohn that said this. You're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And for the people that are driven, that like want to get to the next level, and they feel like they're stuck, they realize that they get in their own way. And there's just something about putting it out there that, hey, I want to do this, that, and someone else is there with you to like hold you accountable, that helps you get there. So accountability to me means like support in getting where you want to go faster. Because, think about it, like I think about all the times, like we kept each other accountable, and it's the fact that someone else is checking in on us. It even when the procrastination kicks in, you still like, oh crap, I got to do this. Like we would have like with our groups, we would have those like sort of check-ins, like where we have to fill out the page, like, all right, what's our wins? Like where we need help. And, there would be some nights the fact is like, all right, I'm meeting with April this week. I don't want to have like a week of like not having anything. And let me get on this. And it's just the fact that someone is there just helping and supporting you that gives you that energy to keep going. Whereas if that person wasn't there, you might just succumb to like, I'll get to it next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was so nice to have. I mean, I really do feel like in the last 2 years, like both of us have been doing a crap ton of stuff, and not even necessarily, things would just kind of pop out of thin air. Like, oh, I've got this workshop that I've got to do, or I've got this speaking engagement, or oh, so and so wanted to buy a couple hundred copies of my book, even though that didn't pan out. There was just like so many things that have panned out. And what I loved about the structure of our little group mastermind was just being able to celebrate wins, because, I do that with my coach too, but to even do something separately, to just say like, hey, I did pretty well this week. And sometimes we forget because we're just doing stuff and we don't really take time to celebrate. So it gives that automatic feedback loop of reflection. And then, but it's also being external, because I think one of the big pieces of accountability for me is that it's not just necessarily like partnering with somebody. It's like the concept of accountability to me is this idea of, I understand that I have a lot of aspirations, and I have to almost Jedi mind trick myself to continue pushing forward with some of them, because it's very, very easy to be distracted. It is very, very easy to get stuck in your own fear. It is very, very easy to just give up many, many times. But in order to continue to push through all of those things that happen naturally, you have to put accountability structures in place. And that might be having to call yourself out in front of a person to say, Gary, I wanted to get these blog posts done in December, but it's March now and I have 25 of them and I don't do them. And he's like, well, why don't you, write a check, send it to me, list it to, Donald Trump's campaign. And if you don't get it done in 10 days, then I will send it. And like immediately I got the blog post done in like 4 days. Remember that? That was like,
oh yeah, that was amazing.
Oh my gosh. And I was so scared. And he was like, do you want to spend money? or do you like, which one hurts more, spending money or being humiliated? And I think I said, well, I can deal with being humiliated too easily, so money. And he's like, okay, what's a number that actually hurts? And I was like, $500. And then he threw the Trump thing in, and I was like, oh no. And my husband he was not happy. He's like, you better get your stuff done. But it's just that idea of accountability, right? He's like, I'm not putting my money towards that. And you know, I mean, and to anybody who's a Trump supporter, I've absolutely no judgment against you, whatever you want to do. I know that my parents and my in-laws and just people in my family may support that side, and it's okay. That's just not my way. But it's one of those things where I knew that I needed to do something, and I needed that like extra little nudge to put me over the edge. And it doesn't need to be as extreme as like writing a check for $500 and mailing it to your friend who could potentially send it somewhere else. But it, you know, there's just little things that you notice. And, you know, I've been in the background as I've been working with the ASC and just my own accountability, just really seeing what drives people to do certain things. And sometimes fear is a motivator. Sometimes fear is an accountability concept or accountability strategy, or there's the reward system. And this has all been like stuff that I've been ruminating in a potential second book that I want to write, but I have just tried to prioritize some other things first. But there's just so many things that come with accountability, and it all starts with you trying to really identify your tendencies and the way that you work and how you can get the most support. So a lot of times, you know, seeking support from somebody else and just like not doing it alone is like the easiest way to do it. There's so many ways. So Gary and I would literally get on a call for an hour. We had this structure. What was it? Like we would fill out this form at the beginning, like right before the call. And then we would kind of go through it together. We'd start with like a brag, right? Like it's been so long since we've done that.
A brag.
And then we would like kind of split up like, you know, so if that was like 10 minutes of bragging and then 10 minutes at the end, just kind of like stating intentions for the next. So we had like 20 minutes and 20 minutes to talk about like, here's what we're working on right now. Yep. And then to help each other brainstorm like, okay, what else can we do? But then it gave us like another 2 weeks to take more action on some of the things that we were doing, and then have something to report back. And it was just that routine of it, which was so helpful. So I don't know, that's kind of where I went with this whole idea of accountability. And it's been super helpful, like having you as somebody who like knows what I'm going through, and watching you do your thing and all the things that have been popping up and juggling. And both of us are busy people. Like we spend a lot of time together now talking about the program and doing work and, you know, checking in with each other so many times. What are the other accountability things that we do for each other? We are connected on our Apple Watches, right?
Heck yeah. Yeah. When I see April closed 3 rings, I'm like, oh crap.
I'm doing pretty well with that lately. I feel like, I don't know, it hasn't really, let's see, on the percents right now, you're at 41% and I'm at 69. How did that work? Have you not worked out today? Have I worked out today? I don't even know. I don't know why I'm moving around so much. Maybe it's because I move my hand like this.
Right.
I'm dancing in place. What else? Oh, recently I'm on a 30-day headspace challenge with myself, right?
Yep.
Have you checked that lately? Did you see how many days I have in a row? My goal was to do 30 days. Let's see. You can't see it. Let me turn off this light again. I have meditated 23 days in a row.
23 days. Congratulations.
So I still have to do it today. I got to the point where it's been a little bit crazy. Oh yeah, you are beating me. How many minutes do you have?
You don't want to know.
Well, I'm gonna look it up because I can see it. Let's see. Buddies. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, I'll just read it. Total time meditated, 251 hours. Session completed, 1K. So somewhere in the 1K. That's crazy. And you meditated 7 hours ago. So yeah, I need to get back to a morning meditation because I'm doing it like right before bed, and then like I fall asleep right after. or during. But I'm still doing it. So I'm like, they're just going to get into the system. But,
That's all that matters.
you know, and I'll text him and be like, hey, can you just like check and make sure that I'm keeping up my streak.
Yep.
And whether or not he's checking, I'm always like, but I got to do it because Gary might check and might call me out on it. And there's a little bit of fear there, which is, it's just so crazy. What's one thing that you feel like, you know, thinking back to the 2 years ago when we're like, I just feel like I'm not getting all the things done that I want to, like, what do you think has been most helpful for you in terms of just our accountability partnership, that you feel like you accomplished that you wouldn't have maybe otherwise accomplished or would have still been working on?
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the cooperative type games, and that game Villainous, in that we each have our own objective, but we're competing with ourselves against ourselves with the other person. And so the fact that, and this is a mindset shift, because you could take this, oh my gosh, look at that person, look at all of their accomplishments, I suck, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's one way. But it could be more of like, you know what? Look at that person, super inspiring that they're doing that, you know, that April like wrote like amazing book. Like I like, it was so cool. I would, to be honest, if I didn't have a baby, I would be out there at her party in April, when she had the book launch. But like, I remember when she was in it and like in the trenches of like, oh my God, all right, I got to write another chapter. Oh my God, my editor had all these red marks. I got to do all this stuff. And like on that journey, and it's like so cool to have someone else there with you that has a similar mindset that wants to go further. Because in the type of coaching program, you know, that I've been trained on, we have this thing called the 9 environments of you. And we say that the environment always wins. So if you are fortunate to be surrounded by people that are very like go-getters that want to do all these great things, great. You know, like you're going to naturally like rise or lower yourself depending on your environment. But if you don't have that, and nothing against the people that don't have that ambition, because that used to cause me a lot of frustration when I would have friends that I know they're capable of more. And you know, if you're watching this, I bet you know, you have that similar thing where you have these friends that you know that they're capable of more, and you want to like motivate them and get them to do it. And then they're just going to be resistant and they're not going to do anything. And then it just frustrates you because you know that they're capable of more. So I just said, you know what, let's let them be them. And it was just a coach of mine actually called me out, and he was just like completely honest and blunt and said, Gary, who's causing the frustration, them or you? And I was like, you don't get it. You don't get it. They're causing the frustration. It's like, well, like, look at it. You know, if you went on and did something else, would they change or would they be the same? They would be the same. So I had to admit to myself, I was causing the frustration to myself. And so instead of like trying to get people to change that aren't willing, I said, well, who is doing some awesome things? And you know, it's so interesting because the universe or God or Allah or whatever you believe work in mysterious ways, because that's when April just showed up and I was like, oh crap, there's someone else who has a similar mindset as me that yes, wants to like hustle and get crap done, but doesn't want to just burn themselves out all the time. And then, so that's the main thing that like I thought was like really rad of having someone that is doing awesome stuff. And it inspires me to keep wanting to do more.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah. And I mean, this is the huge like piece of what I love so much about our relationship is the fact that, you know, we are both ambitious people, but like we like refuse to sacrifice fun and play. And I mean, there's like, let's be honest, there's been times where we're like, man, that sucked. Or, you know, we had our moments of like, you know, it's not always candy and rainbows, but we don't sit in the negative space too long. Like, I really don't even think that I've seen, if I had to like add up all the time that I've seen you like not in a like optimal or like even like in a happy space, it's very few and far between. But it's like you get it out and then you're like, all right, get back into it. And when there's something that is charging to you, you like it, you address it and you move on. And it's just great because that negative energy can choose to sit. And just like you were saying, like we kind of put that on ourselves. Like a lot of people who struggle with overwhelm, it's like we're doing it to ourselves. And so how do we just let go of that feeling of, you know, whatever it is that we're feeling that we don't want to be feeling. And we have the opportunity to change that. And sometimes it's hard to do that when you're alone, because you don't have an outlet to either vent or to just kind of like get over it or process. So yay, that's awesome.
Yay.
All right.
And you brought up a good point real quick, April, like about the whole play and fun. And again, it's a mindset shift of a lot of people, they see play as a distraction or something that only kids do, or it's something that I can do only when all of my work is done. And, you know, if you were on our webinar where we talked about some of the myths of success, that is one of the things that I readdressed, was just talking about play for me, doing the work that I love to do and pushing myself to go further. It is a game. And how can I gamify that? Whether it's, you know, working with April of sending a check to her, you know, if I need to do something, so it motivates me. Or if you think about playing any sort of game, whether it's, you know, the Toon Blast or, you know, some of these games, when you make a mistake in these games, you're not like, oh, woe is me, I suck, blah, blah, blah. You're more like, hey, how can I take it to the next level? What new strategy can I implement? And then it's all about, let's fail again, because it's a growth. So yeah, that's how I'm approaching this.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, that is really interesting. And I know you've said it before, just that concept of like, in these games, you're failing and you're trying to figure out how to make things happen, but you don't necessarily apply that back to your life when you do something and it's not getting to the way you want. So you got to try a different strategy. And I think I'm subconsciously doing that, right? You know, my business has been around for like 4 years, and I was just having a conversation about how I'm struggling with certain pieces of my business, and I still haven't been able to figure it out, but I need to continue to do a different strategy, and it's going to take a while. And I don't want to do it in a place where it's going to cause me even more stress for all the obvious reasons. But, you know, I'm not going to give up, because I'm not going to get to the only thing I will guarantee is not getting to the next level if I don't do anything. Right. So, yeah. So we're kind of on this journey together, supporting each other in our respective businesses and joining forces wherever we can as well. And it's a really great way to to keep us inspired by each other and supported. And we didn't even tell everybody what BFD stands for. Shall we tell them?
I think we should.
Before I say this, so I have to wear this thing at my gym, at my kickboxing gym. It's called like a pulse, which basically is like a heart rate monitor that you wear across your like midsection, and it checks your heart rate and tells you what zone you're in. But because it's kickboxing, like you have to have like it goes up on a screen, and you have to have a fighter name. And so my fighter name is BFD, and my kids are like, what does that mean? What does BFD stand for? So Gary, what does BFD stand for?
It's big effing deal. We're kind of a big effing deal.
Yes. And I love it, because it is also like a mindset that you kind of have to have, right? I mean, sometimes I'll be very humble and be like, oh, thank you, whatever. But you also like want to understand. And I always try to tell people, like, whether I've known them, you know, once I get to know them, it's like, I look at everybody as a celebrity, as a big deal, as just like a freaking badass, right? Like we all are. We shouldn't like keep ourselves small, and we don't need to like be super arrogant about it or anything, but you know, we have to know that we are something special. And so it was just fun to like have that be our mastermind name, and just to see how much we've grown over the last 2 years. Like, oh my God, life is just so different, which is awesome. So anyways, all right. So I want to wrap up with one more thing, Gary, before we go. This has been super fun, and I could talk to you for hours. And right. I will talk to you for more hours to come. But so the last thing I usually close on is this an Ask April Anything question. So these are questions that people have thrown at me in various situations, just asking about anything. And if you're watching this and you want to ask a question that I can feature in a future show, just go to thecheerfulmind.com/AAA and fill out that form. But here's the question, and we can both answer it and then we will go. So the question is, how do I know when I'm onto something? They put in quotes. I don't know when I'm onto something. The beginning of things requires so much self-motivation. When or how do I know if something is worth continuing with? So I think this is coming from the space of like, you get this idea and you're like, oh God, I want to start this crazy show. But like, how would I know? At what point should I, or what should I do to decide whether or not it's something to really legitimately pursue, right? Because we all come up with really great ideas, and how do we know if it's like a big money idea versus just an idea that is a nice to have?
Do you want to go first?
You can go first, unless you need some time to think.
No. The reason why people don't, why they have a challenge in this area, and this is just from my own experience, and it's based off of a bias that we all have called the sunk cost bias, which means that once we put effort and time into something, we feel compelled to keep going, even if it is going down the wrong alley. And so my answer to this is, looking about like, what are your core values? What is the bigger game that you're playing? And, does this align with your sort of outcomes for the year? Mm-hmm. And that is something that, gets asked to me all the time, I get asked to do like things like this, podcasts and interviews or speaking engagements. And if it's not aligned with what I'm working on right now, I'll graciously decline. And then there are things that I'm like, oh, that would be so cool to do. And then I sort of prioritize them, and then I get started, if it's, something I want to get started. But then I have like little check-ins, and I have to be willing to fail fast and just say, you know what, this didn't work out. Let's set it aside and move on. And so that's my answer is, you will never know until you get started. However, you have to be willing, if it's not going the right direction, or if it's not meeting what your desired outcome is, to give it up and say, you know what, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I love that. I echo all of that. I think it's really important to think about how anything that you choose to do, and how it aligns with your values. I feel like I talk about that all the time. To give a different perspective on it, I think a lot of times I will have very pie in the sky ideas. And then, just like I was mentioning before, I had this really cool, like, I wanted to do this 30-day challenge project or whatever. I'm like, I got the URL just because I was like in the spur of the moment, like excited, but then I never did anything with it. And just thinking about, like actually going through the motions was like, oh my God, this is so hard with everything I'm already doing. And from the perspective of, when you have certain ideas like this, and it seems like a big idea, and how should I take it? I always try to think about how can you break it down into like the littlest step, because if you can then do that and work your way toward it, and without having to manipulate what you're doing in your regular daily routines and the rest of your life, then you can kind of try that on like just a modified version, right? So, a lot of what's been showing up lately is people are like, you should be a TV show host. And maybe this was I had said last year, I really enjoy interviewing people, but I want to have a show, but I don't want it to be a big budget production. Here's some fun stuff that I can do. I have all of these ideas, but let me just get something started. And this year has been just trying to even get to a place where it is, a moving process where it's streamlined. I don't even have to think about it. I just need to like identify who I want to be on the show. And then every week after that, there's people that are in line to be on the show. And if anyone wants to be on the show, please reach out to me. But because we're already filling 2019 spots. But one of the things that, I'm having this like vision of like, ooh, I want to do like a daytime talk show that has like little skits and all this stuff. I can't do all of that stuff right now. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources, the financial resources in the studio to do it. And so what do I start with? I'm just first like trying this on to see, oh, my crayon is falling. The tip is breaking. I'm trying to figure out, what can I do within my means right now and try that on. And then I can take that next step to say, do I want to take this further? I've definitely gone and spoken to some like broadcasting schools to see if this is something that I want to take to the next level. And I'm not even sure yet, but if you start with a little piece of it, and then do a trial of that and then see where it goes, at least the risk is not so great, right? Like throwing all of your resources into one thing that might not pan out. And you also have to really think about like, what's the outcome that you want? When I was thinking about this show, I was like, I need an outlet to connect with my friends who don't live here, and make sure that I'm not sitting at my computer, like in silence all day, every day. So now I have 2 times a month I get to meet with people. I also just wanted to create content and do it in a collaborative way. Am I using this to build my email list or do any of those things? No, but sometimes I'll have a topic about something that is relevant to somebody I'm having a conversation with. I'll be like, oh, you should check out this episode of, accountability. Like here, we're just chatting, and it's not, it's just a perspective to get it's already created. So I don't have to dive into it again. I have a resource that I've created. And then it's just, as an entrepreneur, you have to keep pushing content. So it's doing all of those things for me. There's more that I want to do with it, but I have to continue to do baby steps. So anyways, that was a great answer to that question. So I hope whoever asked that got some value up from it. And Gary, it's so great. Now you and I are going to talk more tomorrow. So this is not even going to be, too much longer before I see you again. So, but thank you so much for coming on the show and kind of doing it last minute. And it's great to share like a little piece of some of the behind the scenes stuff, the people who keep me sane and keep me doing what I'm doing. So thank you so much for supporting me in this task.
My pleasure. It was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
I know. And let me see if I have to just figure out how I'm going to like log out of this, because I already forgot. No, I remember. But anyways, everybody, the next show is going to be the second Wednesday in November. This year is almost over. Episode number 18. Oh gosh, this year's going by so fast. So tune in for that, and we will see you next time. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.